We're going to need some props because if you have blocks, those will work for one thing. If you don't have blocks, two, I mean, you'll want two blankets or pillows that you can make approximately the same size. That's for the end. And then bolster. So most people don't have a yoga bolster at home, but they're really great if you want to get one. So you can use pillows. This thing is pretty firm though. So many pillows that you can kind of stack that'll make a firm surface, or multiple blankets. And I'll give you options to adapt as well. All right, and we're going to start on our backs with our knees bent. Grab my blocks here. And you can use some head and neck support if you'd like. Beginning by taking a sigh, feeling your body on the floor. And can you allow yourself to let go to gravity here for a moment or two before we start moving? So you might let your knees lean in against one another with the feet wide, placing your arms wherever they feel best. And you can blow out through pursed lips or with a sigh. You know, we've talked in the past couple of weeks about blood pressure as well, and simply lying down, as you probably are aware of, can lower your blood pressure too. And then that long exhale. So you can inhale through your nose, exhaling out your mouth through pursed lips, or like you're blowing out through a straw. Scanning your body, noticing whatever you happen to notice, right? Really tuning in. You might transition now to breathing in and out through your nose, or you can stick to breathing out through your mouth if you prefer. And now let's take our feet and knees parallel and hips distance apart, still bent. We'll inhale to reach arms overhead. Exhale, right knee in. And we're going to go back and forth, okay? So we'll inhale to place foot down, reach arms overhead, and exhale, left knee in. Let's repeat. Good. Now the next time you bring your right knee in, let's keep it in there and straighten the left leg on the floor. Okay, let's really reach through the toes. So instead of through the heel, I'm pointing my toes. If you get a cramp, just roll the ankle around and get rid of it. Okay, good. All right, now using your right hand, let's make a big circle with that right knee and hip a couple times in one direction, and then you can reverse. Let your breath be continuous. Good, and now let's hold behind the leg. Now you might want to bend the left knee at this point, placing the foot on the floor, because we're going to straighten the right leg up toward the ceiling and then bend and repeat. Good, and next time you get that leg up there towards straight, let's slowly circle the ankle. You can move your toes around, wiggling them around Just noticing how much movement you can get through the toes. Can you spread the toes? Can you scrunch the toes? All the things. I'll show it without my sock here. So I'm spreading them. I'm just kind of playing around, and then I'm scrunching them like I'm making a fist with my foot. Good. All right, and now let's let the ankle be still and just breathe into the stretch here. And so what I mean by that is calm your breath if you can, and notice how the back of your leg feels. Can you straighten your leg completely if possible? Might need to move it further away. It's okay to let go of the leg if you need to, or to use a strap. Let's take 3 more breaths. Softening through your jaw, 2 more breaths. Good, and now let's release, and we'll straighten out both legs down on the floor, noticing the difference in the 2 sides. Good, and now let's inhale, stretch arms overhead, and exhale, bringing left knee in, give it a squeeze. And now let's point through the right ankle and toes. If you get a cramp, just kind of wiggle it out and come back. And then when you're ready, using left hand to make circles with the left knee and hip. A few times in one direction and then switching directions. And coming back to the center, we'll hold behind the leg or throw a strap around behind it. Right knee can be bent or straight. We're going to inhale, take that left leg up, and exhale, bend and repeat. And then now let's leave the foot up there and circle the ankle. You can do some play with the toes too, spreading, scrunching, noticing. And now let's let the ankle be still and go more into the stretch. Just letting your breath be calm. You might try to straighten the leg completely if possible. You might need to move it further away from your face in order to do that. Good. Good, and now let's release. And this time we'll bend both knees, feet hips distance and parallel. And we're going to set up for bridge pose. So if you have anything big behind your head, removing it. Now arms at a comfortable distance from your hips. And when you're ready, let's inhale and really feel all 10 toes. So and then exhale there, just keep breathing, okay? But what I'm going to try to do is work my toes a little bit. So I'm going to start to lift all 10 toes, and then I'm going to place them all down one at a time. I mean, it's unlikely that you'll be able to put them one at a time down, but I can almost do it. So you're just attempting it, right? Kind of like I'm playing the piano, articulating my toes like fingers, and then reverse it. Keep breathing. Good, and then just let your toes relax. Feel the balls and heels of your feet on the floor, and we're going to inhale to lift up to bridge pose and exhale to lower. And you can come up and down like an elevator, just hips straight up, engaging your glute muscles. Those are the muscles on your butt. And exhale as you come down, straight down. Let's try a couple more in that method. Feeling your whole foot, meaning the balls and heels of each foot on the floor. Good, okay, just take a break. Now we'll come up by pressing the low back to the floor first and lengthening the tail toward the knees, like we're peeling up one vertebra at a time and then reversing that on the way down, and you can see which feels better to you today. All right, so let's try a few like that. We'll inhale, press the low back down, lengthen tail forward as you press into feet, lift hips. And then exhale down, lowering down in reverse order. Doing a couple like that on your own. Still feeling both feet. One more. All right, and then windshield wipers. Let's widen the feet and spread the arms. And then let the knees go down one side and then the other. Good, and now coming up through the center, let's drop both knees into the chest, keeping them wide. So you might be able to keep the feet and the knees wide. And you can hold above or below the knees. And we're just gonna rock a little bit side to side by tugging on one knee, going one way, tugging on the other knee, going the other way. Good, and then when you come through the center, you might curl up into a little ball by tucking your chin down first, and then curling up towards your knees. Good, and now you can hold behind the knees and rock yourself up, or you can put your feet on the floor and roll to your side to come up. Just coming to a seated position with the legs out straight. You're welcome for this to have your back against a piece of furniture, and you could sit up here on your block, one block, or your blanket. I'm going to show it on a block. Or even like a big pillow, okay? Good, now we're gonna inhale and pull the toes back toward the shin. You could always place hands to support, and then exhale, we'll point. And when you point the ankles into plantar flexion, let's also flex the toes, like point the toes as well, and repeat. And just notice the path of your ankle. Like I'm noticing my left ankle is doing something really wonky. It doesn't want to go straight. I've got a little tightness in that left ankle right now. And it's okay, you don't have to make it go straight if it hurts. You're just observing, right? You're observing what's going on. Okay. Now, let's bend the knees. And we're going to take the feet behind us. So if you can't be on your knees, you could do what we're doing with our feet standing. We're also going to do that in a minute. So I've got my toenails flat to the floor. If your ankles are really tight in this position, you could take a rolled up towel, washcloth, whatever you've got, blanket, and put it below the ankles like this. Okay, it'll put less pressure. You can also take your blanket, rolled up behind the knees or even flat behind the knees if you've got trouble when you sit back towards your heels, right? So that gives a little spacer there for the knee joint. Okay, I'm going to show it without those just so you can see. So I got my toes down and I'm going to sit back, and this is for most people going to be more of an ankle stretch. Okay, some people might not feel it at all. If you don't feel it all, you could try sitting up like this. And for me, because my knees are fine to do this, I actually need to feel it in my ankles. I roll back and then I feel it a little bit in my toes as well, but mostly in my ankles, okay? And you can come up, give them a break. You can even tuck the toes under. So now I'm stretching the toes in the opposite direction, either up or down, and repeating. We'll just do this a couple of times, okay? Noticing how your feet and ankles feel. Okay, now, if you're wearing socks, you could use your socks for this next piece. Otherwise, you'll want some sort of rag or face cloth. So if you're doing this on the recording, you can grab it. Anything that's soft, okay? Anything that's soft. I'm going to use my socks. And I'm first going to come up onto my feet. So go ahead and meet me in standing. And now I've got my socks down here, and I'm going to use my feet to pick up my socks. Now, you could do this seated in your chair as well, okay? So this really helps to strengthen the transverse arch of the foot. So a different arch of the foot, and it also strengthens those flexors of the toes. So I'm gonna pick it up, right? And you might be able to put it in your hand like that, can toss it back down and try the other foot. Pick it up. So you're also working on balance at the same time, right? So this is a great activity to do. It may be easy, it may be hard. I know I'm adept at this, but for a lot of people, this is pretty challenging, right? So if it's too hard for the balance, let's work the feet first and just do that in a chair, right? So if you find that this is stressing you out, you can do this in a chair, right? Boom. Or just pick it up and drop it like that. All right, so lots of options. Let's do a couple more and then I'm going to show you another thing. Good. Okay, now other things you can do like this that we're not going to do right now is you can practice writing with your toes. I know this sounds crazy, but it's actually kind of fun. So for example, I've got my pen here. I would do this seated most likely, and I would just come over here and try to write my name. Oh, whew, with my toes. Okay, so just get the pen between my toes. Another thing you could do is pick up like marbles with your toes, okay? In fact, let's have everybody sit in their chair for a moment and get yourself just your socks or your rag, because that's what I had you get. And we're just going to try a few things here. Okay, so you're sitting here. Now we're going to work more specifically just on the feet. So what I'm doing is I've got one beneath each foot, but you could do one at a time, and I'm just pick up, hold, release. Okay, pick up, hold, release. I'm still breathing. I'm not going to hold my breath. And I'm really trying to ball up the toes. There are ways to do this, you guys. They have exercises on YouTube for this too, where you're using washcloths and progressively you keep, actually, it's kind of cool. You would do it with like a towel, now that I'm thinking about it, and you keep trying to gather it up and bring it closer. So it's like I'm pulling it with my toes and dragging it in, and then I keep doing it. Right? And it gives you a goal at the end. Okay, so those are some options too. Let's let our toes rest for a moment. All right, just notice how they feel. And then you can do a few ankle rocks. Good, and now let's just practice a breath since we're sitting here. So let's inhale, sit up as tall as you can. I'm at the front of my chair so that I can sit up taller. I'm just going to inhale really wide. So I'm practicing a 360-degree breath. And then I'm going to blow out through pursed lips. Trying to get every last bit of air out without straining. Let's do 3 more breaths like that. Just really wide, so you're focusing on 3-dimensionality to your breath. All right, and then as you're ready, I'm gonna sit to stand, but we're going to hold. Okay, so we're gonna try to pause. We'll do a few of these. We did these a couple weeks ago. Got my feet and knees that are going to stay the same distance. I'm gonna do a little bit of tempo here. So I'm going to inhale, then exhale, hover 1, stand 1, 2, engage the glutes. Inhale, lower, 2, hover if you can, then sit. Okay, so you're just attempting that. Of course, some people might need to push off a little bit, but we're working toward being able to sit to stand and hover without support. Okay, let's do 3 more. Feeling yourself press down through your heels to come up. So this is chair pose, or a variation on Utkatasana and chair pose. And this last time, let's stay up. Good. All right. We're going to do a little more stretching into plantar flexion and toe flexion. And so to do that, you can hold a wall or your chair. And I'm bending my toes into a curled position on the floor. Some people will need padding below their toes. Some people won't be able to hold it without cramping, so you can come in and out of it, okay? And we're trying to stretch into the toes, but you may feel it in the ankle more, so you can just try to notice that. Breathing. Try to stand tall. Good, and now let's do the other side. Again, I'm going to try to bend those toes under. And it might be focused, like mine, my big toe is so big that I can sometimes only feel the big toe, so I'm slightly rocking out toward the pinky toe side of the foot. Breathing slowly. All right, and then stand. Let's do a few heel lifts here, either holding onto balance support or not. All right, I'm going to step wide on our mats, and if you're needing balance support today, you'll want to put the back of your chair in front of you. I'm not going to show it with that so you can see me better, okay? I'm going to put my socks back on. All right, so we're going to step wide. I've got my feet pointing forward at this point. And now I'm going to turn my heels in slightly and my toes out slightly. Okay. And bend through the knees a little or a lot, and I'll show you from the side. I'm just coming straight down. I'm not tucking under, I'm not leaning forward, just straight down and then back up. Now, you may feel, this is a big hip opener, right? So you may feel that you're straining to open the knees as wide as your feet. If that's the case, then please don't turn your feet out as much, okay? Just turn them in a little more and see if you can match that the knees go the same width of opening as your feet. Try a couple more. Okay. Good. And now I'm going to take warrior 2. I'm going to face this direction, which is my right, but you can face that way too, your left, just so we mirror each other. I'm kicking the back heel back and bend the front knee. So now I'm in warrior 2 pose. Okay, and I'm still looking to open the knee about as much as the toe. It's not the end of the world if it doesn't, but it might feel better, you can see. Okay. All right, feet grounded. Let's inhale, open up the arms. I'm turning palms up, shoulders lower or relax. Okay, good. One more breath. And then press down through the front heel. Let's turn the feet back to parallel. And what I did to do that was I pivoted on the heel. You could also hold your chair. Okay. When we pass through the middle, we're going to come into our goddess pose again. Let's put our hands crossing in front of the chest. Exhale down. Inhale, lift. And then exhale, let's slowly transition, kicking back the back heel, opening up the other leg. Good, and we'll take a couple of breaths here. You can take your arms out if you want to. You could also look over that front hand. One more breath. Warrior two. Then exhale, press into your front heel. Bring the feet to the center. First they're parallel, and then I'm just turning heels in, toes out. Other arm crosses in front as I bend and come into goddess pose. Inhale up, and now we're going to do one breath at a time. So we'll exhale, warrior two. We'll inhale through the center, heels in, toes out. Exhale, bend. Inhale to transition. Exhale to bend. I might be changing the breath a little bit. Okay, so we'll inhale on the transition, other arm in front, heels in, toes out. Exhale to bend. Inhale to change. Exhale to bend. You can go slower than me if you want to. Inhale to change. And I'm just kind of fiddling around with my feet to get them to do the movement. If you're watching it on the recording, you can always like slow it down, pause it if you've gotten lost. And now the next time you come into your goddess pose, let's straighten the legs and just take a break. So you can take them closer if you'd like to. We're going to step wide again in a moment. So just do whatever feels right in your body as you take a break. Maybe a shoulder roll. All right. Now let's open back up to our warrior two legs on either side, really. Okay, feeling both feet grounded. But this time we'll come into more of a stargazer position. So I'm going to take my front arm, the knee that's bent arm, and reach it up. And then does it feel okay to take the back hand onto your chest? So just a little bit of a different position. You could look up towards your top hand, or if that doesn't feel great on the neck, you could look down toward the back foot or neutral. Let's try a couple breaths there. I've got my front knee bent. You could always take breaks from that. Stretch that arm way up. And then as you're ready, coming out, bringing the arm down, feet switch sides. Back heel kicks back, front knee bends if it feels okay. Front arm is going to reach up, trying to get really long on this front side. Back hand could come to chest. Look where you'd like to. Steady the gaze and soften it if you can. Let's take a few breaths. Good, and then when you're ready, rising up, wiggle back together, roll the shoulders. All right, let's just stand for a moment and notice how you feel here. Feel all 10 of your toes again. Balls of feet, heels of feet. Okay, we're going to get our chairs and just put the seat to face you at the front of your mat. If you need more support for balance, we're going to be putting a foot on the chair. So you might need furniture or a wall by you. Okay, now stand in front of the chair. Inhale, stand tall. You could even take arms up. And exhale, lift the right knee up. You could try hovering it above the chair, the foot, and then bring it down, arms down. All right, we're gonna straighten that front leg. So you may need to back up, I do. And now I'm going to straighten the front leg. All right, so a little bit of a balance thing here, right? You can put hands on hips or hold something. Now, can you stand tall? You may find if you're really tight in the legs that you have to bend a little in that front leg. So do that if necessary. Otherwise, we're trying to straighten. Okay. Now let's plant our flexion, and also I'm also pointing my toes. So I'm also kind of scrunching them up even, and then dorsiflexion. I'm pulling the toes back and I'm lifting the foot and relaxing the toes, and repeat. Watching the path of my ankle without hanging my head, or I'm trying to. Good. And then from here, we're going to inhale, bend the knee again. You can bring the arms up. Exhale, see if you can hover the foot above the chair, and then bring it down. Bring the arms down, step side to side. Okay, so it's kind of like a version of Pada Angustasana or Pada Hastasana, but with the chair for support. That's the one where you hold the leg, okay? So we're gonna try the second side. You're gonna inhale, stand tall, bring the arms up, exhale, other leg tries to hover, and then you can let it rest, okay? Arms can come down. Gonna get to a position where you could straighten the leg or bring it towards straight. Feel bottom leg supporting you and standing tall all the way through the crown of your head. And now we'll start the ankle movements. I'm also kind of grabbing with my toes when I point here. So there's that regular arch of your foot that we all think of with the arch of your foot, with the instep. And then there's another arch called the transverse arch. I think there might even be another arch too. But there's definitely that one that goes around, keep going, but it goes across the ball of the foot, and it allows the foot to arch this way, almost like a suction cup on the ground at the forefoot. And that one can get really weak in people and cause issues too. Okay, now let's relax the ankle and bend the knee again. And then when you're ready, we'll inhale, arms up if you want, and then exhale, try to hover, and then step down. All right. You could use, if you're really tight in the backs of the legs, I would use the back of the chair. So I would turn it here. If you're not so tight, you could use the front of the chair or even blocks on the floor, okay? And then take right leg forward toward chair, left leg back to skis rather than a tightrope. Just, you're not going back super wide. Both heels are grounded. Both hips are forward. Inhale. Exhale. Let's bend the front knee a little bit so that you can stay long through the chest and get your hands to whatever surface you're using. Okay, so I'm not rounding right now. Right now, I'm attempting to lengthen through the spine. Okay. Some of you could now try to straighten the front leg more, pressing down through the ball of the front big toe. Relax the rest of your toes. Okay. Or relax all of your toes and just press down through the balls of the feet and heels. Good. So I'm staying long through my neck rather than reaching chin forward. And now all we're going to do is start to shift weight toward front foot, and my right hip lifts a little bit when I do that. Weight toward back foot, weight toward front foot, weight toward back foot. If you're wrist sensitive, I want to remind you not to put much weight on your hands here. It's just for support. Okay, now can you find a middle point between those two? And now you could fold if you'd like downward. So now that would be some rounding through the upper back if it feels okay. You can even put your head on the chair if that works. And let's take a few breaths here. Relaxing your jaw. It might also be more upright. And now when you're ready, we'll lengthen our spine forward again, bending your front knee so you can lengthen forward further. And then exhale, let's just switch our feet, and then bending that left leg, let's stand all the way up. Okay, so we'll start from a standing position, just getting steady, okay, finding where that is for you. Inhale. Exhale, a little bend in the front knee. We're going to stay long to start, hinging at the hips, taking your hands to your surface. Okay, so staying really long, and then noticing, could you press down through the ball of the front foot to straighten the leg a little without rounding? You can see. And then we'll try our hip shift. So weight to the front foot, weight to the back foot. And then finding that middle place, and you can fold if you'd like. Letting your neck and your jaw relax. Feeling the balls and heels of both feet, toes relax. Good, and now as you're ready, let's bend that front leg, and we'll lengthen the chest forward, and then come back to our chair, downward facing dog, or you can always do a floor downward facing dog if you prefer. Taking a few breaths here. Might move your head side to side. Good, and now from here, you can reach your chest forward and slowly try to lower your knees to the floor. Now, you might need padding there first, so you can get that if necessary. And come down to our knees. And then have a seat. Good. I'm going to take the soles of our feet together. Now, this one also it's helped by a block or a blanket below the hips, especially if you're really tight here. Okay. You can hold the ankles, or you can press hands behind you. As you're here, whatever position you've chosen for your arms, Let's sit up as tall as you can, trying to get toward shoulders over hips. Good. And then very gently release your ear, one ear down to one side, taking a couple of breaths. And then coming up through the center and going the other side. Just getting curious about what that experience is like for you. Good, and then coming up through the center, and now you can try looking up if that feels okay in your neck. Go very slowly. Feeling for that 360-degree breath, going down, chin in the direction of chest. And then you might gently start to rock the head like you were going to circle it, but just the bottom half of the circle. Keep breathing. Good. And then head to center. Let's bring knees up. We're going to have a seat still on the floor. So you can sit in any way that's most comfortable. We're going to work with the feet a little bit. Might need your sock off. Could also do this in a chair. So some of you have done a little foot massage with me before with hands. I'm going to do it a little differently today. You're trying to get to your feet. If you can't reach it because of mobility issues, you could sit in a chair, use a ball, use something, just play around with your feet. So what I'm going to do is take both hands to either side of my forefoot. So the ball of the foot. I've got my thumbs on the sole of the foot, my fingers on the other side. And I'm going back and forth. So one hand up, one hand down, and mobilizing the forefoot. Good. And then from here, you can use your thumbs on the bottom of your foot, all around the ball of the foot, and your fingers on the top. So what I'm doing on the top is, and you can do this with the sole down too if you want to focus on the top, right? So it just depends on where you want to focus in. But what I'm doing is I'm getting my fingers, or when I put my foot like this, I'm using my thumb, and I'm getting in between all those long bones between the toes. And just giving myself a massage. Mine are very sore in there, a little tight. If you do any running or walking, and hopefully you're doing some sort of walking at some point if you're able to, then they get tight. Yeah. So getting in there, finding those spots. There's also a bunch of acupuncture points in there. Good. And then other things you can do here is take your toes and bend them down toward the sole of the foot. So I just took my big toe and did that. And then my next, I'm just going to go one at a time. You can bend them the other way too, right? Into toe extension. Okay. And then our old friend, spreading the toes. So I'm going to take my fingers, my opposite hand from foot, fingers in between toes. And I'm going to try to get them down to the webbing of the toes and spread the fingers out. And then release. Okay? And we'll do the second side whenever you're ready, so you can release the foot. Let it relax. And then get ready for the second side. Okay. So the first thing we did was get a hold of the foot with both hands and go back and forth, mobilizing the forefoot in this way. Good. And then we massaged the ball of the foot area and or the top of the foot area between those long bones. So you could do it like that, or you could do it here. And you might find, like I am, that one foot feels very different from the other foot. Good. And then you can play around with the toes, right? So you can bend them toward, one at a time, toward the sole of the foot, into some flexion here. Ooh, that's interesting. Okay. Don't make them hurt too much, but they might hurt anyway. Just don't make them hurt sharply. And you can also bend them into extension. Good. So we're just doing some passive movement of the toes. And then let's take the opposite hand, palm to sole, then threading. Once you thread, you can, again, mobilize the foot. We didn't do that on the other side, did we? But spreading the fingers out. Keep breathing. Good. And then releasing, just letting go, noticing how your feet feel, breathing in and out. All right. And now if you took your socks off, you can put them back on. I'm going to set up for our child's pose, restorative. So this is where you'll need your blankets and pillows. And so I'm going to show you a bunch of different setups. And if it's not possible for you, or if it just feels awful for your knees or something, or your hips to be in child's pose, I'm going to give you another option, which is face down on the floor. Okay. So let me just show you all the things here. All the things, right? You already know about putting something below your ankles if needed, right? It's right underneath here if it's your ankles. And you also know about putting something behind your knees if needed. You can also put something below your knees with your stack of pillows. So the idea here is to be propped up. I'm going to use, I just have the one bolster, I've got a bunch of blankets. So what I'm going to use is my bolster, so this could be a couple of pillows. This thing is pretty firm. And then I'm going to put my block under it. And then I'm going to put my blankets. I think I might just need one. This is what it is. You'll see that I've got my knees wide and the bolster is between my knees, but I'm not sitting on it. I'm not way up here. Because then I'd fall off, my neck does. I mean, I guess that's okay too. This doesn't feel as good. So I'm coming back here. And I snuggle in the bolster. Let the shoulders relax. And you want it to feel comfortable. Okay, this is meant to feel comfortable. So you've got to get it just right for you. Sometimes what I do is take both blocks. So now I've got both blocks underneath and it's more of a flat surface. Same thing. Okay, feels a little too high to me today. Okay, if this is not an option for your knees, you're instead putting that rolled up blanket below your ankles and we're coming down to the floor for a face down type Shavasana pose. Okay, so either one of these, we're just looking for belly down. And you can get your head to the most comfortable position for you if you're in this position. Okay, so choose the most restorative for you right now, and we'll have another restorative pose after this one, okay? Get yourself set up. We'll spend about 3 minutes in it. And feel free to really fiddle, like I'm adding another pillow here. I think is what I'm going to do. On top of my bolster and blanket. Oh yeah. Settling in. Finding the right position for your neck. And when you get there, let's practice breathing in for a slow count of maybe 4. Trying to feel some expansion in your back. If you're on the floor face down, maybe you can feel that expansion in your belly against the floor. And then when you breathe out, could you make your exhale longer than your inhale? And let yourself really let go into your supports. Notice if your mind starts to wander, and feel for bringing it back to your body and your breath. Remember, restorative poses are meant to be comfortable, so if you need to change your position, please do. And when you're ready, you can slowly come out. So if you've been on your belly, we're going to come into a seated position. And depending on your setup, you'll need to make modifications to this. So for my setup, I'm going to keep my bolster. We don't have time to do the one where we needed the even block, so I'm sorry, but this one will be nice too. So I'm going to take a block below my bolster so that I'm on a little bit of a slant here. I'll show you what I'm doing and you can see how you need to do it with your stuff. Okay. And I have my legs straight out in front. I'm going to sit right against my stack of pillows or my bolster. I'm going to put something for my head and neck back here. And I'm going to lie down. So it's just like a recliner almost, okay? You don't want to have any back pain, so you want it to be comfortable, all right? You're just getting whatever you can to get into something that might mimic this position or otherwise feels restorative. My arms come down at my sides, so my chest is a little bit lifted, my shoulders falling back. And when you get there, take your time. You can always pause if you're using the recording. We'll start that ratio breath again. So we'll inhale for a count of 4 and exhale for longer than that. It could be 6 or 8. You can use pursed lips or any other kind of breathing to help. trying to let go of as much effort as you can. And when you're ready, letting go of that breath control and just letting your breath be effortless. You may find that you want to change positions so you can really let go if you're not totally comfortable, or just if you want something different. Feeling like you could sink into the floor a little bit deeper,